あるからこそ、
中谷君、あと1勝、12月お互い頑張って来年東京ドームで盛り上げましょう。
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. So big fight announcement. It's an announcement that a lot of us, thought was going to happen. Naoya Inoue will be defending undisputed against Junto Nakatani in Japan, May 2nd at the Tokyo Dome. And a fight which is, I think we can pretty much all agree on this. This will be the biggest fight in Japanese boxing history. So yeah, a fight that I can't wait for. Like I said, a lot of us thought that this was going to happen. If you actually look at the last Riyadh season card where, they both fought on it, that was really, the whole thinking behind it. Junto Nakatani was going to move up to 122, had a warm-up fight. Naoya Inoue fought on the same card. And then the plan was for them to fight, later in the year. So it's a fight where, look, I can't wait for it. It actually reminds me a little bit of Beterbiev Bivol, where for the boxing purist, it's like Christmas. It's a fight where, even though it's not maybe commercially the biggest fight in America, like maybe Canelo Crawford, for the boxing purist and, anyone that, loves the sport, we understand how good of a fight this is. Naoya Inoue, obviously, superstar in Japan. I think a lot of people in America know him as well. Junto Nakatani, not as well known in America, but obviously, very well known in Japan. So if you actually remember, when Naoya Inoue fought against Luis Neri, there was 55,000 at that Tokyo Dome. So I, expect this to be, bigger than that. Will bring in, massive revenue. And most importantly, it's just a brilliant fight. Obviously they're both in the, both on the pound for pound list. Junto Nakatani coming off of a difficult fight. Now there are some people out there that think that Nakatani's stock has fallen a little bit. Based off his last performance, people think that, he's going to be easy work for Naoya Inoue. I am actually not one of those people. I think it was a difficult fight moving up to, 122 pounds. I thought for the first, 4 or 5 rounds, he was absolutely flawless, brilliant performance. But he fought against, a tough, rugged guy that, pretty much came forward all night. Nakatani's, power punches, and Nakatani's obviously got power, and he's actually got one punch knockout power as well. This guy walked through all of those punches and, gave him a difficult fight. He had power himself. He was tough, rugged. So no, I thought Nakatani did well to get through it. It was a tough, difficult fight, but, I don't think there's any shame in that. Even someone like Floyd Mayweather, who never lost a fight, he had difficult fights. I remember the Maidana fight was close and difficult. Miguel Cotto gave him some trouble. So, anyone at this level, they're going to, when it's two guys at the world, elite level, you're going to lose rounds. You're going to be in difficult fights. So, I'm actually one of those people that I don't think it was, necessarily a bad performance. And I thought Nakatani showed maybe a different, different wrinkle to his game. I think he showed the fact that he's got a lot of heart as well. He can dig it out. And, he's going to need that against Inoue. Obviously, today was the press conference. There was actually something interesting that Naoya Inoue said at that press conference. So essentially it was Junto Nakatani's trainer, saying that, he believes that, Junto Nakatani can win the fight on points. Inoue responded and said, he can't get a decision win over me. So, look, Naoya Inoue, he's a competitor, okay? He's competitive. He wants to win. I think actually at times that's worked against him. If you look at the Luis Neri fight, when Luis Neri was, talking a lot of trash, Inoue tried ripping his head off in round 1, but got sloppy and got caught. He fought in America for the first time in a while against Cardenas. Looked to just, take his head off in round 1, was looking for the knockout and got caught and got silly. So yeah, I don't think he's going to do that. I think, after that Cardenas fight, I think you've seen, disciplined, smart performances from Naoya Inoue. And I think the game plan he needs to implement is very similar to the MJ Akbandaliya fight. Now, I actually think that's a very underrated win for Naoya Inoue. I actually think that was his best win of 2025. It was actually the same weekend that Canelo fought against Terence Crawford. Everyone, was pretty much already on that high that, Terence Crawford put in that performance. And in the early hours of the morning, Naoya Inoue, fought MJ Akbandaliya, so I think that fight and that performance actually got overlooked. But, MJ Akbandaliya, remember Eddie Hearn was saying that, Naoya Inoue was scared of him and running from him. He's never going to fight him, things like that. And Inoue outboxed him, 12 rounds to 0. But it was a smart performance. MJ Akbandaliya, he's strong, he's big, he's got power. But Inoue, he didn't stand in front of him. he landed those hard punches and got out of range and just outboxed him. And I think that's a similar approach he has to take in this fight. I do not believe that Junto Nakatani is going to outbox Naoya Inoue. I can't see that happening. Inoue, he's smaller than Nakatani. I think you saw that at the press conference. Nakatani's definitely bigger in terms of, taller, longer, got longer reach and things like that. But I think that Naoya Inoue, he's got to fight smart, disciplined, and I feel like it is a fight that he can win on points. And I actually think that the long break in between fights is going to help Naoya Inoue. I actually think last year, having 4 fights, that takes a lot out of you. I think in the Picasso performance, I actually think it was a good performance, but I think he did look a little bit tired for me. And I think, because it's difficult, obviously, 4 fights in a year. It's pretty much, you have a training camp, you get ready for a fight, prepare, you take a week or 2 off, and then you're in another training camp again. Whereas this fight, he could have his, a month, to a couple of months, rest, take some time off, let the body heal, and then, get a solid, 8-week training camp. So I think that's, going to work into his favor as well. Obviously he's boxed on, I would say a bigger stage. He's had some bigger fights. So yeah, I think it's, maybe a 60-40 fight to Naoya Inoue. I do think that he is the favorite, but I think this is the most difficult fight of his career. Again, Junto Nakatani is on the pound for pound list. He deserves to be there. 3-weight world champion. He's a brilliant fighter in his own right. But yeah, a fight that I cannot wait for. I'm happy that we've got the official announcement. And yeah, as always, make sure you guys let me know who you guys think is going to win it. Do you think Naoya Inoue is a big favorite after the last performance of Nakatani? Or are you kind of like me and think that, Nakatani actually showed that he can, grit it out and get through a difficult opponent? So, yeah, definitely let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks you guys for tuning in. There is some more boxing on this weekend. Jaya Pattaya makes his Zuffa boxing debut. We'll discuss that. But yeah, thanks as always for tuning in. Definitely do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one shortly.